And now, you're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
Welcome into RBLR Sports, as we are set to talk a lot here today with a lot of news coming out of Tampa Bay sports scene. My name is Yurika, and let me be the first to wish a Happy New Year to my man Musaab on this Friday New Year. How are you doing, my man?
I'm doing well. It's been a great week so far in Tampa Bay. We got a lot to talk about it, but Bucs had a nice win.
Yes, sir.
We clinched our first playoff berth since 2007, so I'm sure all the Bucs fans in the city's happy just with how well overall, our whole city's been doing. Lightning, Rays, Bucs, Rowdies. So it's been a good week so far. It's been a pretty chillaxing week, but excited for the new year as well.
Yeah, man. As the Bucs finally punched their ticket into the tournament, of course we cannot forget about the Tampa Bay Lightning, who I don't know if you knew this, but they won the Stanley Cup not too long ago. And so joining us for the first time as we bring in new changes for the new year, talking with our Lightning correspondent, man. Let's welcome Chris to the program. Chris, what's up, man?
It's good to be here, man. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to it. I'm definitely excited for hockey this year. I would like to say that I think hockey has honestly become my favorite sport now. Used to really enjoy football, but I think over the past couple years, hockey's kind of taken over. You know?
Man. How you've been a lifelong fan of Tampa Bay sports, or
all Tampa Bay sports, all of them?
Because I know there's going to be a lot of listeners, and a person like myself too who moved to the area, but after being here for so long, they've kind of crept from being they're the other team I watch to now it's like. I'm probably more in tune with Tampa Bay sports than just like a lot of people, where they might have come from one place and they keep tabs of that hometown team, but this is the hometown team, and that's what I'm excited for all of us, as we're going to talk about first the Buccaneers finally being the dominant force that we hoped against the lowly Lions, but they did punch that playoff ticket. We will talk about the Lightning having a little different schedule in the new alignment for 2021 and kind of what that all means. And then we'll also talk about the big Rays news, and that was that the Rays got rid of their ace, Blake Snell, in a trade with the San Diego Padres. But we will have all that. But first, let's talk about the Bucs. And they absolutely blew the doors off of the Detroit Lions, who were injured. They lost Matt Stafford on the first drive. They were missing all the coaching staff, but in capital letters, they did what they needed to, which was beat a lesser team and move on. They took care of business, and they're moving along. So Musaab, I got to ask you, how do you feel the Bucs look as they do have one more tune-up game against the Falcons right before their playoff run?
I think they're looking real great, especially after this past game. Yes, I know the Lions are shorthanded with a lot of the coaching, and even Stafford with the injury and missing a bunch of other guys on the roster who start. But the way I saw it was this game was supposed to be like a dress rehearsal, for the playoffs. Especially just looking at the circumstances even before the game. So this was supposed to be like a dress rehearsal for our Bucs, and I think everything went really, really well. Everything to our like. So I just kind of want to start out with it was really surprising to see. First of all, a strong start by the Buccaneers. Our team is not known for starting strong. We're kind of seen as like a second half, maybe late in the second quarter kind of team to really start turning the turbo on and scoring. Especially with our past games, which may have affected our playoff dynamic. But fortunately, this game went really well. We were able to clinch the playoffs since 2007, which was amazing. This game, there was records being broken. Basically, Tom Brady throwing most touchdowns, one season for the Bucs, and then Mike Evans is only 40 yards away from, I believe, his 16th or 17th consecutive season with 1,000+ yards. So he's gonna knock that out of the park real well. I'm hoping this upcoming week. But I gotta give credit to honestly everyone. I really love seeing a bunch of kind of the bench players, getting some action. Blaine Gabbert, while I wouldn't say he did really well, it was really nice to him to kind of, throw two more touchdowns in the second half, after replacing Brady. And also just seeing all the different kind of players. We got Evans, Godwin, Gronkowski, Fournette with the touchdown. We got some players on the defense getting some action, which was amazing. I'm really happy with the defense as well. I mean, the Lions D wasn't something I don't think anyone was really worried about, and I think the Bucs knew coming ahead of this game that it wasn't gonna be too much of an issue, especially with the circumstances as they were. But their offense can get hot, a few times here and there, especially when Stafford was first starting, and just because they kind of had to change, the quarterbacks. For the first day, they started out with Blow, then Daniel. I guess maybe it wasn't really working too well, so they gave some opportunities to DeAndre Swift, the rookie running back, to step up and get some kind of some key plays going. But he did. I think he did an okay job, but definitely was hard to do that when you got this amazing defense of ours. Devin White with 10 tackles. Levante David, right behind him with 5. A bunch of other guys were having 4. Seeing guys like, Ross Cockrell get some action. Herb Miller with an interception, which is I love to see that as well. I think that was kind of the icing on the cake. That was like, all right, hey, we're having real fun now. And this is kind of just to see what we got. So, and this is a really great morale booster. To really summarize it, this was a game that we really needed, and we made the best out of it. Defeating them 47-7. I was thinking, all right, hey, we might get something like 35-10. And we'll still get the good win. But I mean, this was an absolute dominating performance by the Bucs compared to the Lions. I'm real happy. I think it's pumped up the whole team. They're looking real good. Obviously, then again, when I think about this game, I'm thinking, well, this wasn't, first of all the starters, and things were a little different. First of all, the coaching management, the QBs that would probably not be playing if Stafford wasn't injured. So it makes you think, well, I wonder how we would do, against another team like this, or maybe a team that had all of its coaches and its starting quarterback, but I don't think, I think this is exactly what we need to make sure we make a statement game, this upcoming week against the Falcons. Obviously, the last game we played against the Falcons wasn't the hottest. It was nice to see us step up to the plate and, take control of the game after the first half. So hopefully, if all goes well, the Bucs keep doing what they're doing, everyone stays healthy. I think we're gonna knock the Falcons out of the park.
Yeah, I was gonna say, the Falcons coming in at 4-11. They've only won 2 games on the road, but they kind of seem like another one of these teams, especially here in Week 17, where if they let the guard down, Atlanta's capable of doing some damage. I mean, obviously the Buccaneers are a 6.5 point favorite at home here, but Matt Ryan still has a little bit of gas in the tank, and they've been putting on some pretty good performances. I mean, they score about 25 points a game. And, last week they had a good showing against, a relatively good showing against the Chiefs. Of course, they went toe-to-toe with us 2 weeks ago, scoring 27 points there. But they definitely don't look like a team that's, completely down and out, even though their record would say otherwise. How do you think, Musaab, how do you think this week's matchup is going to be the same or different than the game we saw 2 weeks ago?
I think it's gonna be a lot different, I hope, and most likely I think it really will. Just seeing, first of all, you already played the team once and you saw what they lack and what they're strong at. So playing a team kind of again so close. Um, you have a good idea. You remember a lot of things about the team most likely as well. So that's real good. And I just, I have to say though that I think this game will definitely give us a good idea because that Falcons Chiefs game I saw, it seemed to me like nothing was kind of off. It was just maybe they were scoring a lot less, and it was a closer game than I think anyone thought. But that kind of gives me a good idea for in the future. Seeing a team like the Saints kind of battle it out with a bunch of teams. I mean, a lot of their wins have come from close scores. Especially that one being the Falcons game this past week. So to me, it's gonna give us a good idea of saying, all right, well, how are we against these other like really good playoff teams? Yeah, hopefully, we're gonna knock out the Falcons out of the park, and we're gonna get the easy win, hopefully. But what does this say about our team, in the future as in the playoffs? Because all right, yeah, we might not get a super strong team or a super threatening team in the first round of the playoffs, but after that, I mean, it's gonna get real serious no matter who we play. And as long as we're getting the reps in and we're kind of getting the more games we play, the better idea we have of what we need to excel and what we need to work on. I think this Falcons game, as you said, obviously their record says something different, but I think they're a solid team. Matt Ryan, he's had his really good games as well. They got a nice bunch of receivers and running backs good as well. Defense is solid as well. So it's going to be a good game. I think this is going to kind of be like a nice a confidence booster if we really do well against them. It's going to be like, all right, hey, we pummeled the Lions, and although yeah, their record says something different, Falcons they're solid, and hey, if we beat them real good, then that's going to give us a good idea. All right, we're getting real hot now. I think we're kind of getting in the zone. We're having some consecutive, winning games. So it should look good for us in the playoffs then. But this game, I'm not too, I want to say, worried about. Hopefully, I think we're going to learn from the mistakes we had. I think we're going to have a nice, strong start. I don't think as strong as the Lions, to be honest, but I think we'll get some touchdowns as soon as we get those possessions going in the first quarter.
You got any of those spicy bold predictions for me this week?
Yeah, I sure do. I guess my first bold prediction is I think that Evans and Brady are, first of all, Evans is gonna totally cross his record, and I think he's gonna get 2 touchdowns. I think this is gonna be a nice game for him to really put his power, put his skills in to see, all right, okay, that Lions team was, a little sloppy, whatever. That's not going to give you a good idea of what a nice solid team of, defensive backs you're going to be going against. So it's going to give us a good idea, but I think Mike Evans he's got the big body, he's got the skills that every wide receiver needs. So for that reason, I'm going to say 2 touchdowns by him. I think I'm really liking the defense, especially with our defensive backs. I think we just have such a variety of just, great players. And, the cool part is, if maybe 1 or 2 players or one of those backs is kind of, doing okay or maybe feeling a little off, there's always another back or, another, cornerback or safety that steps up to the plate and, make sure that, they can kind of pick up their work and, dominate. Kind of take the job from them for a day, take turns. So that's what I like a lot, and I think we're going to be doing that. I'm really excited to see who's going to get that, but I think Matt Ryan's going to throw for at least 1 touchdown. I'll be real happy if we get 2 interceptions. But I didn't mean to say touchdown. I meant to say interception at first.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't mean. Yeah, you probably confused everyone out there. I think what I meant to say was I think Matt Ryan for sure is going to throw 1 interception, ideally 2. I'm just excited to see who's going to get that interception. I think it's going to be one of those backs. I don't know. I'm thinking maybe Jamel Dean or Murphy Bunting. That's just a little rough prediction. And then my last prediction is just that our defense was really dominant. I think we're just gonna really pressure. I think this upcoming game is gonna be more of a show for the defense. I think we'll do solid on offense. I think we just have so many weapons on offense. I don't really know, but I think Evans is definitely gonna do real well this upcoming game. But for the other offensive guys, I don't know. It's it changes every game. But I think they're gonna do real hot as always. And I'm really I forgot to mention this before. I'm really loving this new guy, Keyshawn Vaughn, Yurika and Chris. He got some action in this past game. I loved it. His yards carry was higher than Fournette's, which was really nice to see. It was kind of like, all right, well, this guy's got something in him. He was averaging 4.1 yards per game compared to Leonard Fournette, who was 3.8. I mean, the guy had 15 carries, 62 yards. He was looking real good. I was hoping maybe he'd get some more attention, in the second half, once we kind of were leading by a lot. But I do want to say, because of that, I think the offense there's just so much. Fournette, Vaughn, Gronkowski, Evans, Godwin. I think even maybe Antonio Brown, Scotty Miller. There's just going to be so much going on. I think it's going to be real nice to see on the offense. But for the defense, my eyes are going to be on Devin White, Levante David, and then those defensive backs. I think they're going to be making the real difference. Kind of just to, this game is going to be that statement game for our defense to make sure, we let the league know and our upcoming opponents that, hey, we're the real deal. Our offense is getting real hot now, and our defense it's something scary. What we did to the Lions was pretty embarrassing for them.
Yeah. So when it's all said and done, what do you think will be the final score?
Final score, I am going to have to say, I'm going to say 31-17.
31-17. So you think defense is definitely going to send another message like they did against the Lions, but overwhelmingly the offense should be able to score another 30 points. I'm with you, man. Chris, we haven't brought you in yet. You being a Bucs fan, what do you kind of hope to see with the Bucs against the Falcons?
I'm hoping to see a lot more consistency. Like Musaab said, It was a great start. We finally started a game good, which obviously you can tell how much it paid off. I think that is really key for the Bucs. Slow starts are not good. You don't want slow starts, especially heading into the playoffs. You don't want to have a slow start against, if we play Seattle, high-scoring teams. Even if we match up against Washington, Washington's front seven's good. If they pressure Brady, that's going to be Brady's not good against pressure, and our offensive line has been so-so. Smith has gotten a lot better. So consistency. Yeah, that's one of the biggest things I think I want to see.
What do you think? Well, let's all throw a score out. Chris? What do you think of final score? Falcons versus Bucs.
I think it's going to be high scoring. Atlanta's got nothing to lose. I don't know if Julio's going to play. I think he's still listed as game time decision because of his hamstring. I'm gonna go 38-24.
Okay. See, no one's going to hold your feet to the fire if you're wrong.
Right.
But I agree with you, man. I think that this game, looking versus the last game 2 weeks ago, I think this is going to be I think the Bucs are going to spread the carries out a little bit more evenly between Fournette and Vaughn. That they didn't. Vaughn had a really tough game a couple weeks ago. I think he's definitely had a good bounce back against the Lions, and I don't expect him to put the ball on the ground again or just kind of almost running in the wrong direction. For me, I think that this game is going to be high scoring again. I think there's going to be possibly more than 50 points scored, man. I have this as a 29-23 Bucs victory, but it doesn't cover the spread. But I do kind of see it being a high scoring game that really isn't completely like the Bucs will be in control the whole game. I don't think they'll ever lose the lead, and I think that they'll probably be another one of these. Just kind of they've by the third quarter they have it in the bag, and they end up maybe getting an extra touchdown or extra field goal. That if the defense was really still playing hard, maybe guys are being taken out at that point. That if they're up, 28-10 going into the final quarter, something like that. But yeah, I've got what was I say, 29-23. So Musaab, Chris brought up a good point. We were talking about kind of, and I had asked this a couple weeks ago that now the Bucs have played the Lions, and they're going to play the Falcons 2 out of 3 weeks. But next week it's the playoffs. After this game, it's the playoffs, and so I wanted to ask, how do you see the Bucs right now, kind of stacking up against some of the possible first round matchups that we have?
First round matchups overall, it's going to be an interesting picture. I think first, Bucs are going to be headed off to the playoffs in a while now, but the way I see it, while the Bucs' only possible spots in the NFC, seeding are 5th or 6th, hopefully after this game it kind of stays, at 5th. There's still a lot of variance as to how the entire kind of 7-team field can, shake out. If the Bucs are, the 5th seed, they will end up either in Dallas, Washington, or New York. And if they are a 6th seed, their potential road opponents are Green Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle. So, it kind of makes you think what are the best and worst options out of these possible trips. But it's going to be interesting. Obviously, those games, to look for, going to be coming from Dallas, Washington, New York, Green Bay, New Orleans, and Seattle. Well, more just Dallas, Washington, New York. First of all, seeing the Cowboys-Giants game, it's a game of interest for the Bucs. Though it's not completely clear if the Bucs should have any specific rooting interest. The winner of this game will sit around until evening, waiting for that also Washington-Philadelphia night game to see if the season is going to continue. So if Washington loses, the victory in the Cowboys-Giants showdown will be the NFC East champion, and that the Giants could win a division. As we talked about this before, it's kind of interesting to see the Giants will win the division with a 6-10 record. Pretty interesting if you kind of like that, that football chaos. So if you're the Buccaneers, considering a possible date either against either of these teams, which would you want? I would say the Giants got they got their quarterback Daniel Jones in the lineup. Cowboys have Andy Dalton and his 0-4 record. Passer rating's not looking high at all, especially in the postseason. Honestly, you could flip a coin on who I would rather face here. The Bucs have already won a game at New York this year, but it was awfully tight. And against the Cowboys, Yurika and Chris, the Bucs have the offensive firepower to match Dallas and the better defense, particularly against the run.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely the best outcome is that you got to take care of business against the Falcons and set yourself up to play one of the NFC East teams, because inevitably the Bucs are going to run into the Seahawks or the Packers or the Saints if they continue at some point through the NFC. Out of the Packers, Saints, or Seahawks, who do you think the Bucs have the best chance of beating if they happen to play either one of those?
Could you say that again, Yurika?
Yeah, no worries. I say, so on the flip side, if they do play, whether in the first round or somewhere else, out of the Packers, Saints, and Seahawks, who do you think the Bucs have the best matchup against?
I'm gonna say Packers.
Now, do you think that's because we already played them and we just wiped the floor with them, or is maybe the Seahawks and Saints have better defenses? Why is that?
I think the Seahawks and Saints, they both got better defenses, but I think also it's just the fact that you already play a team, being the Packers, and you did real well against them, so you got a good idea of what they're good at and what they're not. And obviously things changed, and they were on fire for the rest of the season, not ending, but at least as of right now, they got a 12-3 record going against the Bears, so that should make it 13-3. But I think our best chance is going to be against the Packers. I think they're all real good teams, but for some reason it just seems to me that Aaron Rodgers' dominance it does occur a lot, but sometimes it can be a little bit off, especially when going against our Tampa Bay this past season. So I think that's gonna be our best contender to at least go to the next round afterwards. But then again, I mean it's a tight matchup. It's not like Packers kind of win by a landslide or something like that. I mean they got the same kind of offense and defensive, a little bit offensive caliber as the Seahawks and the Saints. So they're all some real good teams. Definitely one of those guys is going to go to the Super Bowl for sure. Unless we get real hot or something, we look real good. But it's our side of the table compared to the American AFC it's a little different.
Yeah.
The way I see it, yeah, it's a little different.
Geez. Yeah.
Yeah. So for that reason, I don't know. I just think that it's if we do pass this round, whether we play the Giants or Cowboys or the not the Redskins, the Washington football team. Right. I think the rest of the season's worry should just be basically on that. Obviously making sure we do real well against the Falcons and our first playoff team. But I'll tell you this: that even I'm sure halfway through that game in the playoffs, regardless of who we're playing, our mind, if we're already winning in that game so far, our mind's already going to be on the next round, thinking about, all right, well, who we playing? Saints, Seahawks, Packers. What's it going to be?
Absolutely, man. I think I'll ask both you guys this question, and I think coming to the end of this season, if in the beginning of the year, kind of right when we signed Tom Brady, if you would have been saying, okay, the Bucs are going to make the playoffs, right, and they're gonna do it with a 11-5 record, not knowing anything else, how happy would have you been if you were to hear that? Musaab, sorry.
Oh. I don't, I kind of want to hear first what you got to say a little bit. Just give me a little head start, yeah.
Yeah, Chris, so if we told you, man, right when we signed Tom Brady, a magic fortune teller comes out and says they're going 11-5, and they'll make the playoffs for the first time, just on that alone, how happy would you have been?
I'm happy. The end goal, obviously, is the Super Bowl, but we all know how hard that is to get to. But I think the playoffs are a step in the right direction, and we all, as fans, can agree that it's been way too long. I think this team that we have going into the playoffs is, I don't want to compare it to a Super Bowl team, but I think offensive-wise, I think we're better. Defense of our Super Bowl team was obviously better.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I'd be happy, man. I'm happy now, and I'd be happy then.
So, Musa, maybe I'll reframe this in a different way. So, because there's been some kind of talk out and about that basically this is a Super Bowl or bust. Like, if it's not a Super Bowl win, we should be sad about this year. Do you agree with that? Do you think that it's Super Bowl or bust, or making the playoffs is, like Chris said, a step in the right direction, and we should be happy? I'm with Chris
Yurika. I think for those who do have that mentality of the Super Bowl or bust, I don't think that's the right mentality, especially it's Brady's first year. It's, a lot of guys, it's the first year that a lot of these stars are kind of all collaborating together. So I don't think it should be that Super Bowl or bust mentality. The fact that, we made it to the playoffs is definitely in the right direction. That's amazing, especially seeing, when the last time we were in the playoffs was. It's been a while, 13 seasons. So it looks real nice to me. And I don't, regardless of what happens this year, it's kind of going to be a little like learning lesson to see, all right, well, what we got to do better. I mean, we've done so well this season. Even those close games, it happens. But the fact that I think maybe the only game we really just got pummeled was that one Saints game. It shows that hey, we can fight with any team. We've we've annihilated teams. We beat some real good teams. We beat the Packers by a lot. We've had some close games with the Rams and the Chiefs, and also unfortunately that loss with the Bears was something I think that should have not happened. So I think we should already kind of have an automatic win in our record right now. We should already be kind of we should already have 11 wins. We should be 11-5 right now or we should be 11-4 right now instead of 10-5. So overall, though, I think we're in the right direction. It's looking real good for us. No matter what happens next year, we're going to be even stronger. We're going to know exactly what we need to work on. Tom Brady's going to have a little more time with the new guys and just kind of everyone, and Brown, Miller, Godwin, kind of also just doing that kind of off-season leadership. Giving them a little off-season leadership advice, some tips. Everyone's going to kind of recalibrate. I think next season is going to be even better. I'm looking forward to it, but obviously, hey, we're looking real good right now, so my eyes are on this playoffs. No matter what happens, I'm going to be real happy. The thing is, as long as we put our we play our hearts out and we play everything to the best of our ability, that's what's going to matter. Now, if we have a bad game, I might be a little disappointed.
Yeah, I'm sure the opinion would change.
The opinion would definitely change. At least for these upcoming two games, the Falcons and then whoever we play in the first round. I think those are the most important games right now. We need to think about both of these. These are both important games. I don't think this is a game that the Bucs should kind of maybe just toss out in the back or something like that. This is something to definitely look forward to be ready for. Everyone should be as healthy as they can be. Yeah, it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. The Bucs, and this is the best part, the Bucs control their own destiny. And speaking of destiny, we had a team of destiny that won the Stanley Cup this year. We're going to take a small break, and when we come back, our new guy Chris, we're going to talk about Kucherov. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about all the craziness that is in store for 2021. So all of that after the break. Welcome back into RBLR Sports. Chris, me and Musaab talked about kind of the lightning and the breaking news of the Nikita Kucherov injury. So I got to ask you right out of the gate, man, how big of an impact is the Nikita Kucherov injury to the Lightning?
Huge, huge. Obviously, you can't replace a guy like Kuch. You can't replace a player like Kuch. He was an Art Ross winner. He's obviously our probably number 2 guy leader wise. I mean, he might even be number 1 now because Stamkos is out, half the season, half the time, which obviously isn't his fault. It's huge. It's going to impact the team. I do think that we do have a lot of good players that can fill in. Obviously, like I said, no one's Kuch, but I mean, overall, last year we played well without Stamkos. We had plenty of players who put up points. Obviously, Braden Point had almost an MVP type of season that no one saw coming. He had 25 goals. It's going to be really tough. But I do think that we can still. I'm going to say we still can win over 30 games, 35, maybe 30, 35 games. Now they're saying that Kuch, even if he does come back, it probably won't be till the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Which, is he going to be healthy even when he comes back? There would be tons of question marks of him coming back. Is it too early? Is it too soon? Hip injury, especially in hockey, is big. Obviously, you take a hit into the boards, you take any kind of big bump, you fall on the ice. It's there's going to be a lot of questions as far as lingering issues. Is it going to be bothering him the rest of his career? Mm-hmm. But I think that, like I said, I think we got enough depth to where we can still get, 30, 35 wins, get in the playoffs, and then if he does come back during the playoffs, obviously that would be tremendous. But then again, sometimes you've seen Cooper do it where he's mixed up the lines, and that's worked out, and then sometimes it doesn't work out when he does it. So I think the biggest thing obviously is finding a replacement for him, just to at least fill in for the season. I don't know if he's going to want to mix up the lines. I would think. Because I mean, right now you got Palat, Point, and Stamkos probably going to be line one. Killorn, Cirelli, Gord, maybe two. Goudreau, and then Coleman and Johnson. If Johnson's still here, and then we got Maroon, Stevens, and Joseph. So I mean, you still got a lot of speed out there. Obviously, like I said, Point had a heck of a season last year. Even Coleman played really well in the playoffs. He had some big goals for us in the playoffs. Goudreau's a good grinder. I do think that we are going to miss Cedric Paquette, though. I don't think a lot of people realized how good he was on that fourth line. But he was the guy that will go out there and get dirty, and you need those guys, especially come playoff time. You need those guys that are going to get in front of the net. And I think that's one of the things the Lightning are missing is a net front presence. So I mean, obviously replacing Cooch, it's not doable, but I think we do have enough depth that where we can still score some goals and win at least 30, 35 games.
Yeah, I was going to ask who. Either it's a collection of people, or is there anybody you see kind of stepping up in the kind of the absence of Kucherov?
I expect Palat to have a good season. He ended the playoffs on fire. He's a really good two-way forward. He'll get in front of the net if he needs to. I think Palat's going to stay hot. I really do. Obviously, Killorn surprised everyone last year too. Killorn had 26 goals last year. I mean, we spread the love around, and I think that's huge for this team. We don't rely on one player. We're definitely a hockey team where we play the game and we're a team when we play. We're not a one-man wrecking crew.
Right.
I think you're going to see a big season from Palat. And then obviously we re-signed Cirelli too. I expect big things from Cirelli too. Obviously Cirelli's not a winger, but I still think he's going to have a really good year himself.
Do you think the Lightning are possibly relying a lot on Stammer coming back and being healthy again to kind of offset losing a superstar like Kucherov?
I don't, because I don't know how much. I mean, it's not Stamkos' fault he gets hurt, but at this point, how much faith can you put into him that he's gonna? I mean, I hate saying that, but that's why I think we have a good system with the crunch, where we have guys that we can call up and send back. And I don't think they're gonna rely. I think they're gonna rely on Stamkos for leadership, definitely, because he's that guy to go to. We saw him come into the game, score a goal, a huge goal at that. Got hurt, re-injured, and that was like a movie right there on the ice, like a movie being made on the ice. So I think they're going to obviously rely on him for the leadership role, but I think Cooper has a lot of trust in the other guys to get points and get stuff done. I trust the system that Cooper runs, and I think you're going to see a couple guys step up for sure.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you too, your feelings on, you got Tyler Johnson, who is a pretty expensive guy to be sitting outside of your top six. Do you think maybe Tyler Johnson could have a bounce back year?
As much as I want to say yes, because I love Johnson, he's probably been one of my favorite guys on the team. He's little, he hustles.
Yeah.
Past couple seasons, he hasn't looked the same. I don't know if that's it. Kind of after he got taken off the triplets line, it's kind of been a downward slope, and I don't know if that's because Kucherov was, everyone was on Kuch, or that was when Palat had another good season, so maybe more guys were aiming towards Palat, and Johnson was just getting open a lot. I've seen Johnson's skill, but last year it was very, very disappointing. I hope so, but I'm not gonna put my eggs in one basket on him.
Now, do you To be honest, I haven't been reading too much into like trade rumors, and cause I know the Lightning were trying to offload Johnson. They weren't able to do that. They did try to put him on waivers, and that didn't go through. Do you think that? Well, and I was going to say, is there maybe an opportunity at a trade? Are the Lightning gonna try to maybe bring someone in to kind of offset Kucherov's absence or something like that?
I wouldn't put it past me, but with the season being shorter now too, it's really hard to judge that because 56 games, it's not much time to really to get a good, I don't know, I guess overlook on your team. I mean, there's gonna be no preseason.
Okay, yeah.
Obviously, it's gonna be tough. I mean, I could see a trade. I mean, I don't honestly, I don't want to see Johnson go. I like him. I know he's got the potential. I just don't know he's not past his prime. I don't know if he's just in a really, really bad slump. Although sometimes, a lot of hockey guys, I've heard they grip the stick too hard and they're trying too hard instead of just playing their game. Like, just play your game. And I don't know if it was part of his frustration. We've seen Cooch get frustrated, and we've even seen Cooch get benched before by Cooper. Cooper's not scared to step up like people think that he is. I mean, you're benching a guy that's obviously your best player on the team, and you don't have a problem doing it. You're trying to send a message, which is good because that's leadership. And that's he's showing his team that I'm not playing around. Like, you're not playing good. You can sit on the pine for a little bit. So I a trade possible. Does it happen? I don't think so, but it's definitely obviously possible.
Yeah, because I'm thinking, and you brought up a really good point about the depth of this team, and obviously it's one of the reasons they went so far in the Stanley Cup playoffs last year. But it's another team losing their top one or top two guy. You're kind of scrambling. Maybe you're trying to plug a hole. And what's really nice is I do agree that the Lightning have a lot of kind of not a next man up mentality, but it is this kind of, it's a complete ecosystem that if they lose one guy, or like we lost Stammer last year, but the team stepped up and we had guys. I do think that the Lightning are going to be able to do the same thing in the absence of Nikita Kucherov. But you also brought up a good point about there being some oddities this year. One being, no preseason, and the other being the shortened season. So, Chris, could you kind of take us around how the NHL is going to look different this year?
Well, first of all, you've got one division that's completely Canadian, so that's a first. Man. That's a first for sure. I think now you're combining. Obviously, you're combining West and East divisions. There's only 4 divisions. You got the North, the West, the Central, and the East. So I
got it pulled up here from NHL.com. Yeah, it's crazy.
Right, you're looking at Nashville this year. Like, we're gonna play Nashville. Chicago. We're even playing the Stanley Cup rematch. Against Dallas. Wow. So it's gonna be different. It's hard to say because you can't really. You're used to playing the same. It's like in any sport, any team. You're used to playing the same teams every year, same division. So, I think it's gonna be exciting because last year when I saw the new playoff format, I was like, I'm skeptical about this. But honestly, that was some of the best playoff hockey I've ever watched, and there was no fans, which is really disappointing, obviously. But the games last year, the matchups, the upset, like, it was really, really good. So I'm kind of excited to actually see it this year because I'm not against change. And I'm happy the season is happening. So I'm gonna be positive and say I think it's gonna be good. I think it's gonna be exciting. You're gonna be playing obviously 7 teams. People might say, that's gonna get boring, but a lot of times when you play the same, like, in a softball league or something, if you're playing the same guys over and over, it's fun sometimes. It's fun. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be good for the sport, and I'm hoping it'll bring in some new fans. That I don't want to watch a full season of hockey. Well, try it out for 50 something. Maybe watch 25 games, see if you like it. I'm always for more fans of the sport.
Now you said are they playing the same 18 7? What is
right.
it?
You have 8. So, yeah. So we're playing the same 7 teams.
For the whole year.
Right. So we'll be playing Carolina, Chicago, Columbus, Dallas, Detroit, Florida, and Nashville.
Right. So, wow, that's just. I mean, that's
Yeah.
completely. I mean, that's completely different.
Right.
So, I mean, you think the first thing I think about is that Boston Tampa rivalry,
Right.
and we won't even see them.
Nope.
Until hopefully the end of the year. How do you see some of those intriguing matchups? Like, like you said, Dallas is in the division now.
Right. I love it.
And they're going to play them 8 times
Right.
or 7, whatever.
It's the good thing is we just really started a rivalry with Columbus, and they're in our division now. So I think that rivalry is going to get intense. It's been a battle. I obviously we're playing Chicago opening night on NBC. That's a big game that's nationally televised. I think it's going to be fun. I really do. I think Nashville. Nashville always plays us very well. Florida we always beat. Detroit we always beat. I think Detroit's going to be a little better this year. They got some young guys. I think Dallas is going to be a top 5 team in the league. Chicago's probably going to bounce back. It's a tough division. It's not going to be easy. It's really not. I think it's going to be very competitive.
And looking at this, it's kind of like if you're looking at some of these divisions, like the East Division, everyone's within a train ride of each other. Meanwhile, in the Central, Tampa's going to have to travel, as far west as Dallas, and as far north as Detroit, where some of the other guys, Boston, 2 New York teams, the New Jersey team, the Philadelphia team, the Pittsburgh team, Washington D.C. team. I mean, they're all Buffalo, New York team. They're, like I said, you could take a subway or train ride to any of those games. Do you how the question I had? So after the regular season of 56 games, how are the playoffs going to work?
From what I saw, the semifinal round is going to be seeded in regular season, number 1 versus number 4, 2 versus number 3.
From those divisions,
right? So you're going to have your top 4 teams are going to make it in each division.
So half of the division makes the playoffs.
Right. But my question that I haven't been answered yet is what's going to happen for the Stanley Cup for a Canadian team. That's where I'm curious as to they can't travel and we can't travel up there. So that's probably my main question is what's going to happen at that point that I haven't seen an answer to yet.
Right. Because, hopefully they're hoping that they're between vaccinations and things like that they're able to probably take away the secure Canadian border. Thinking the way they did the bubble last year is they probably, if in the event that a Canadian team, at least one Canadian team is going to make the semifinals. So in that instance, maybe all the playoffs are back in a bubble, like the top 4 teams, semifinals and Stanley Cup finals. Maybe they're in a bubble in Detroit or in like Edmonton, Toronto, that kind of thing again. Now, I'm assuming they haven't released that information. Maybe they're still putting together the P's and Q's, but maybe that's one way they do it is they say, okay, well, whoever wins the East, the Central, and the West, they're just going to have to travel across the border. But then again, I don't know what the political connotations are going to be and health connotations are going to be, and that is a ways down the road. So hopefully the world looks a lot different in a few months.
I agree.
Yeah, but that's crazy. All of the Canadian teams are in one division, and that they're only going to play each other.
Right.
That's ridiculous.
It's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be crazy. I think it's going to be good. I do. I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think. I say don't bash it yet. Let's just be happy hockey's here. Let's give it a try. Let's enjoy it. And I think it's going to be a lot more competitive than people think.
Now, just looking inside our division here, we are still playing, Detroit, Florida, and like you said, that Columbus rivalry that's getting up. Just kind of looking into the crystal ball, what are you kind of looking? Is there any particular matchups or things that you think are going to be kind of shaken up just because of this realignment that are going to be interesting?
I think Chicago and Tampa is going to be interesting, especially seeing them, having to play each other all season. Obviously, They beat us in the Stanley Cup. We weren't happy about it. We were right there. I think that's going to renew that. Like I said, Columbus and us, man, the past 2 years, it's gotten intense out there. Chernak's out there looking to knock someone's head off on Columbus, and I'm fine with that. So, Dallas, we just have a tough Stanley Cup matchup. So I think again that's going to be interesting. I honestly, I think overall, I think everyone in the division really. I mean, we don't really have too much of a rivalry with Carolina. Granted, we play them every year, but I think Chicago, Columbus, and definitely Dallas will probably be the three most intriguing to watch over the season.
Yeah, well, and having some other rivalries like that Chicago-Detroit rivalry that got broken up with kind of them being on with Chicago going to the West. I think that's going to be something that's interesting. And even looking around the rest of the league, I mean, most of the West is still together. And in the East, of course, it's just, long-standing rivalries between, Philadelphia and all the New York teams and kind of seeing where Washington's gonna if they're able to stay up in that division as well. I'm trying to think one last question to ask. I would say, Musaab, have you been able to look at any of this kind of new realignment with the NHL?
Yeah. I got the news about the new divisions going up this upcoming season.
How do you think it's going to be that we're? Obviously, Dallas and Tampa Bay was a killer Stanley Cup final, and now we get another 8 or so games again. And all of them matter because these are the teams you're fighting to get into the playoffs against, and they're going to be the teams you fight to move in the playoffs against. That's a matchup that really looks good to me. Is there anything else you've kind of been seeing?
I guess the only thing I see is just looking at our division, how important it is, how important is, as Chris was mentioning, the fact that we're playing these teams basically like 7-8 times. One side it may be a little boring, the fact that they're consistently playing these teams, and for that team or two teams that every time Tampa Bay is going to kind of demolish, it may not be fun, but it's still it still gives kind of the season some kind of little flavor or something like that. But I do like what Chris was saying. I do agree with him kind of on what's going to happen with with Kucherov kind of going out. I think Paulette, or even I think my eyes are kind of on maybe Cirelli. Maybe also kind of stepping up a little bit to the plate. I don't think any specific player will be kind of taking over Kucherov's role. I think it's going to be maybe a 2 or 3 guy kind of effort. Who knows? Maybe it might be a 1 guy effort, or maybe more a 1 guy and a little bit of the others. But I don't think it's real hard to replace someone like Kucherov. So for that reason, I'll probably just say maybe 2 or 3 guys. It should be interesting though. We got some good contenders in there, so that should be real fun as well. I'm looking forward to it, especially just coming off a championship season. with us holding the Stanley Cup in our city, it should be interesting to see what's going to happen this upcoming season. With someone like Kucherov, gone. Kucherov is out. Coburn is gone. Kind of the fact that we're also the Stanley Cup defenders, to see how everyone else is going to be going against us.
Yeah, and in this realignment, we are staying away from the top half of the last year's playoffs. Boston's away from us, Washington, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh. It isn't until Carolina, who were the 6th seed last time. But with that being said, Chris, if you had to prognosticate right now, who do you think are your top 4 coming out of the Central Division right now?
Okay.
That's tough. I know it'll be wrong. I know it'll be wrong.
No. I like
okay.
this. I like predictions. I like to think I'm Nostradamus sometimes. So I'm gonna go. I'm going to say the Lightning.
Okay.
I'm going to say Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
Oof, man, it's tough. I don't know if I trust Chicago. I know Jonathan Taves just announced he's not playing. I don't know when he's coming back. Yeah. That's going to be hard on them. Man, Florida's silently good. They usually get that. They can usually sneak in there. I'm going to go with Florida, Tampa Bay, Dallas, and I'm going to go with Nashville. I think Detroit and Florida, I think, battle it out. But I think I'm going to go with Florida. But I think Detroit has a good season. I think they bounce back. They got some young guys. But I think they're going to be a tough team for sure. But I'm going to go with Florida.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're just pulling straws out of a hat right now. But I mean, other than I think the Lightning and the Stars are your top two, okay? And then the next tier from that are Carolina and probably Nashville and Columbus. I mean, that's kind of your middle tier. And then the rest of the teams are kind of, they kind of need to overperform. Chicago, Detroit, and Florida's kind of hovering on that tier two, the tier 2, tier 3. So that's kind of where I see it, is like Tampa and Dallas at the top somewhere. And then my favorites would be Carolina and Nashville, I think, for the 3 and 4 to make the playoffs. But that's where that fight, I think, is going to be between a team like Columbus and maybe a rebounding Detroit team, and Florida, of course, that, can't be understated. So, but all in all, that's going to be pretty crazy. And I'm glad we brought you on, Chris, to kind of to work some of this stuff out. Because I know going forward, I think we'll have you on to do a kind of a preseason prediction, or a kind of a preseason primer for us, as the season's right around the corner. It's not too far away. So at the same time, we're talking about football, not too much longer.
Right.
The hockey season's going to be firing right up, man.
Back to back.
So this is a really, really good time and a fun time to be a Tampa Bay Lightning fan. So let's take a break. And we'll get into the third team of our trifecta tonight, and that is the big news about Blake Snell no longer being a Tampa Bay Ray. We'll have that right after the break. Welcome back into RBLR, and for our final segment, I kind of wanted to talk about two of the deepest or best pipelines in Major League Baseball making trades with each other, and that's the San Diego Padres and your Tampa Bay Rays coming together to make a pretty blockbuster trade, as the former Cy Young winner Blake Snell is traded to San Diego for 4 prospects, some that are ready to go this year and some that are more of a long term. First, I would say, losing Blake Snell is further compounded when you've already lost, Charlie Morton. And so I'll kind of get into what I think about the trade later on, but I think it's important to go through who we got first. So the biggest gem of this trade, and kind of the one of the reasons that the Rays were okay with doing this, is that they're getting Luis Patino. He's a starting pitcher. He's one of the top prospects in the game, whether you look at Baseball Prospectus or you look at Fangraphs, or even MajorLeagueBaseball.com has their own kind of ratings or rankings of the prospects. He's in the top 10 in some of them, at least the top 25 in most of them. And he's known as a hard-throwing, almost triple digits, 97 mile an hour plus fastball on him. He also projects to be a well above average slider, and he has also just about major league level curveball and changeup in his arsenal. He does project to have a little better than average control on him, and that's maybe the big question mark, is that right now he probably doesn't have the control to be an every 5th day starter in the rotation. But everyone looks at this kid and they see work ethic, they see intelligence, and they definitely think that the ceiling is high, and that the couple things that he lacks, one being control, the other being that curveball and changeup. Those are things that they definitely think that he can work on, and that he will project to be very well. And I guess that's the big. If we're just comparing Snell and Patino, it's that either one of these guys could be really, really good, or they could drop off. And that was kind of the main criticism that I saw, is that people that were liking the trade for the Rays were saying, Snell was really good a couple years ago, and he's been consistently good since winning the Cy Young. But his questions about longevity, in terms of he never really goes over 6.5 innings, 7 innings in a game. And the way that baseball, there is this kind of ebb and flow. And so, the Rays might be unloading him at the right time before he starts a decline. And they're maybe getting Patino on a rise where he's about to hit his prime and have his, highest years as he comes into the majors. Other than Patino, they also got Cole Wilcox, who is a bullpen pitcher, but possibly also a end of rotation guy in a few years. He did pitch in the bullpen for the Padres last year, but that's really the role he would have if he were to play with the Rays this current year. I think that towards the end of the year, if they don't bring him from day one, they'll probably throw him in the bullpen, because he's another one of these. What was the stable of 98ers? He's another one of these guys who consistently throws triple digits on his fastball, and he's a very talented pitcher who was a first-round talent when he's in the draft, and he fell to the Padres to the third round only because, one of the main reasons was he was in college as a sophomore, and people were worried would he sign, because he had actually been in the draft a year before, and he pretty much wasn't going to sign with anyone. So he was drafted very late. He went to college. A couple years later, he gets back in and falls to the third round to the Padres. So the Rays do kind of find these guys that they drop off, and they because of one or two kind of tangential reasons, and they try to work them into the mold, and that really is what I think they're looking for in the third guy they got in the package, which is Francisco Mejia. He's listed as a catcher, but he's not very good at catching. Especially framing, trying to make it where a ball's right on the edge. But the Rays do like to find guys that are good at that framing, where when the pitch is on the edge, the glove's in the strike zone, and so some debate how much this actually helps or hurts, but every once in a while you can get an umpire that calls a strike when it was right on the edge of the strike zone. So Francisco Mejia, he does project, though, not defensively good, but very, very good as a power bat. He could also be a change of scenery guy, a classic Rays tale of getting someone who is undervalued in one system, bring him in with a couple tools in our system, and kind of rehabilitate him. One good tool that he also has is he has a very strong arm. He's known that he has a cannon. While he can't frame at the plate that well, he absolutely can gun guys down. So maybe the Rays are able to either just use him as a designated hitter down the road, but also maybe if they can turn him into a corner infielder or corner outfielder. But in reality, I kind of see Francisco Mejia again being a piece that's traded somewhere down the road. I think if they can rehabilitate him a little bit and he does really well in the minors for a little bit, they'll piece him together, and I'll kind of get into where I think a trade might happen down the road. And the fourth and final prospect that they got was Blake Hunt, who is also a catcher, and he could possibly have the highest upside of all of the players in this trade. He is a very raw prospect with a powerful bat, and this is a guy that it's going to take a couple years for him to get to the majors. But I would say don't think of him as just a throw-in guy. I think that Blake Hunt and some of the scouting that's on him is that he's another one of these intelligent, hardworking kids that's going to benefit from the Rays' kind of proven system that we get these guys, we build them up, and then they're competent players across the league. But overall, I guess the question is, why? Why did the Rays trade away Blake Snell, especially when he's a guy who was the ace? I mean, the last time we saw him, he was pitching an absolute gem in the World Series. And then they obviously pulled him in a controversial decision that eventually the Rays would lose that game. But I think the Rays are selling high right now. Blake Snell has a huge contract in terms of relative to what the Rays usually like to pay players. Blake Snell has a big contract, and it being $11 million here in 2021, escalating up to $16 million at 2023. Right now, Blake Snell is at the highest of his value. And I think you could, one, just look at his body language in that World Series game, and subsequently with he hasn't really come out and been blasting people, but you got to think that he's not happy with how he was handled at the end of the season. And there's kind of questions about him coming back and that in the mental state that he'll be in. And once again, I brought up the point that Snell, while dominant when he's actually in the game, he isn't the innings eater that I think the Rays are going to need in the rotation this year. And a big question for me is he going to have the same innings limitation in San Diego, especially because now he's in the National League, he's going to have to bat. So if they're in a situation, it might work out where he can still only throw 6 or 7 innings, less than 7 innings, and be okay because you're kind of used to bringing in bullpen guys. You're used to pinch hitting for your pitcher. But how is that stamina and fatigue and things like that we've seen from Blake Snell? How's that going to work out? So I think that's one reason. That's the reason that they're selling high on Snell. As good and amazing as he is, and obviously we all respect and love what he did for the Rays, there's question marks as he gets older and as he makes a lot more money. So that the Padres being in a win-now position, making even another trade after the Snell trade, they traded for Yu Darvish. So they're cashing in the chips. So when they're wanting to cash those chips in, this kind of goes into the Rays way. And, if you thought Philadelphia 76ers trust the process was crazy and exciting, it pales in comparison to how the Tampa Bay Rays do things. I mean, there's a laundry list of these guys: Scott Kazmir, Evan Longoria, David Price. You have these guys where we build them up. They get to the point where they're superstar level, and then right when Stu Sternberg doesn't want to cut the $30 million a year checks, they get sent off, and prospects get brought back in. So if the Rays are going to try to give us the PR about this, I would think that they're saying, in reality, what we're doing is, we are giving up some of the power that we have in 2021, but this is another shortened kind of oddball season that some players might even opt out of if there isn't widespread vaccinations, and if there are some troubles in health and things like that. This is going to be another year. So if the Rays are able to, unfortunately, punt on this year, but they'll be better set up with 3 or 4 players again in the pipeline. You've just turned Blake Snell, You got all the juice out of him in the World Series run, and now you've turned him into three more, hopefully, players that contribute to the future of the successful run for the Rays. So, I mean, my long-winded thing of all that to say, do I like it? In the short term, hell no. When you're and this is like initial reaction to this is the Rays are 2 games away from winning the World Series, and I think that in that sense, that we want to reload. We should be paying for a bigger bat to fill in the lineup. We should be, getting another guy in the rotation to add to Charlie Morton, to add to Blake Snell, and add to Tyler Glasnow. We should be paying to get a catcher in here and focusing on that side of the batting and things like that. But in the long term, it isn't out of character to the perpetual kind of wait and see who performs, who overperforms. But the Rays are kind of littered with these guys. I mean, even a guy like Ji-Man Choi or a guy like Yoshi Satsugo and some of these guys we brought in last year that are still coming up on the rise. There's some question marks, but guys like, Brandon Lau, is he going to be able to continue what he's doing? Randy Arozarena, how is he going to perform kind of in a full-time major league schedule here? So there's a lot of promise. There's a lot of, if we're just looking at the prospects here, there's a lot of things to like about it. And it's kind of like long-term, sure, this has a lot of potential, and I think it could work out. But in the short term, you got rid of Blake Snell, man, Cy Young winner, and it wasn't just that. It was he's had 3 consistently great years, and he doesn't look like he's going to be turning away from that relatively soon. And if we're being honest, $11 million all the way up to $16 million in a couple years, that's not exactly too much to ask. It's actually kind of a team-friendly contract for a superstar of his caliber. So I have mixed reactions to this. I guess I'll turn it to you guys.
Well, Eureka, I wanted to know, Eureka. I mean, just based on this whole trade, what grade would you give for the Rays, and what grade would you give for the Padres?
For the Padres, it's a A plus. I mean, they have the mind kind of escapes the other 3 guys, but they have basically 4 big. They had 4 big prospects that they had in their pipeline, and of all of them, Patino's probably the one that they could lose they could lose. They could get rid of him and not really worry about it because they're bringing in a Blake Snell, because they're bringing in a Yu Darvish. I mean, they're trying to win right now, and that GM basically is playing MLB The Show because that whole team has been built through trades. And this is another one where they went out, they got the highest rated pitcher they could get, and they traded a couple prospects for the future because they're not trying to win in the future. They want to win right now. The window is open. And from that perspective, it's an A+. For the Rays, that's where that mixed message comes in. Right now, it's like predicting who's going to win the NHL or NFL play. It's like right now to the Rays, like who's the rotation right now? Glasnow, Yarborough, Michael Wacha, who they picked up, and then a couple guys at the end of the thing. So it's got to be like a C or lower in terms of the immediate impact to the Rays. And that's why it's that bad taste. It's that icky taste in your mouth. But, what if Patino is MLB ready, like they're saying? Like scouts and some other baseball people are saying, Patino could possibly be as good as Snell right now. He's got all the tools. He could do it. If he hits, then it's like great. And then if Cole Wilcox or Blake Hunt also hit in a year or two, Now all of a sudden it's like, well, they did it again. You know, they picked a guy off the scrap heap. They took an underutilized guy and they did the Rays thing. It's what the car wash, you know. So right now it's got to be a C or lower, but time will tell.
I like that. I mean, I do agree with your statement. I mean, I totally think that this is what the Rays do when, you know, especially coming off a World Series appearance. Tampa Bay often, you know, they trade their top players to shed that salary, taking on top prospects in return. But, you know, on the Padres, meanwhile, they're gonna get their kind of ace starting pitcher, hoping to make a deep playoff run. But, you know, I feel the same way as you, Eureka, giving them a C as of right now. What effect it has, I mean, who knows? It can, you know, my expectations they may surpass my expectations, or they may not. It's a wild ball, so we don't know yet. But it should be interesting, though. I mean, you know, what we've done in the past with these young prospects it's been good. So I'm staying optimistic. But then again, I do have those mixed feelings that you have as well, Eureka.
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of outrage and even some fans saying like, this is it. This is the last straw. You know, I'm done with this team. They don't want to win. They want to just fly away, and Stu Sternberg just wants to basically take the team and run away to Montreal. Chris, how do you see, coming from another fan's perspective, kind of how the Rays are taking this offseason right after being in the World Series?
I think I've just gotten used to it as a Rays fan. I mean, it's kind of just what we do. I don't even get mad anymore. I just trust the process. I mean, it's what we do. It is, and it's Moneyball. I mean, we've all seen the movie. You know, obviously it's based off Oakland, but I mean it's pretty much what we do. And I mean, to be 2 games from winning the World Series, if you would have told me that last year, I wouldn't believe you. You know,
exactly.
I mean that, and I'm not for, you know, second place trophies. Obviously, I'd love to win the World Series, but I'm proud they made it that far, because for our payroll and our team to make it that far, and the road we had to go on, and the games we played, and the big hits we had at the right times. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Everyone always doubts us. I'm just gonna trust the process.
Yeah, one of those other trades is like when we brought in, you know, Willie Adames, and we have a prospect, you know, Wander Franco, that's coming up, and this is another one of those why you, as much as I want to say, yeah, this trade sucks, and we lost Blake Snell, and what are you doing? It's there's always someone that comes out of the woodwork, and they can have them on these team controlled, you know, very low salary, very low, you know, per player. They can get guys and kind of overperform for their monetary value. And so I think that, you know, you can still bring in an arm if you do trade like a Willie Adames packaged with, you know, maybe even one of these guys, maybe Mejia that we just got in. You know, you get a bat and you get a defensive guy, and that turns into a number 3 or number 4 guy in the rotation. I mean, there's always more pieces that the Rays can go with. I mean, if you looked at guys like, if I would have told you that Mike Brousseau, who was a rookie last year, was going to have, you know, really overperform when it came to, like, you know, wins above replacement. You know, you're seeing these guys that kind of, Randy Arozarena, come out of nowhere, and now he's, you know, everyone, the darling of Major League Baseball coming into this season. It's kind of like, maybe you don't need a Cy Young winner as your ace if you've got a kind of that, we were talking about the Lightning. If you have the stable of 98s, if you have kind of, even in platoons, you've got guys that are consistently performing and overperforming in that traditional Moneyball sense. So I think the thing they're trying to really exploit is a lot of these kind of guys, like Tyler Glasnow. Here's a guy that was kind of thrown to the wolves in the Pirates organization, and then the Rays picked him up for pennies on the dollar, and now he's coming into this year. He's going to be our number one starter. The way that I kind of put it together. So yeah, it's like trust the process.
Right. I would like to say one more thing though.
Yeah,
I do feel bad that the way Snell's career had to end here.
Sure,
being pulled from that game. That's going to be questioned for the rest of baseball history. And I feel bad that that's how he had to end his career here. That was definitely disappointing to end it that way.
What was really nice, though, speaking of that, is that every Wednesday on the social media, on the Twitter for Tampa Bay Rays, it was called Hump Day, and they'd kind of throw a cool little thing. Blake Snell was a lot of these, and today, as we're recording a couple days before New Year's, they did post one last little Hump Day tribute to Blake Snell. So that was classy. And Blake Snell definitely it hasn't let it be known in public if he has ill will or hurt feelings. He posted a very nice thank you on his social media. So I think he goes into that list of players that, the Rays have. And I don't think you should feel bad if you've got a Blake Snell jersey, if he's your favorite player. It's kind of like treasure the moments that we get with these guys, because until we get a new ownership, until Chris and Musaab and I come in and buy the team, this is what it's going to be like, Well, with all that said, this has been a great show for RBLR. I want to say, even though Blake Snell's out the door, Chris, I want to say thank you for joining us on this show here.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and with everything, with the Bucs playoffs around the corner, the Lightning starting their season around the corner, and the Rays still trying to figure out what they're going to do with a couple months away from baseball. I just want to say to all the listeners, thank you for your time. And if there's one thing you could do on top of you listening, giving us your time, if you could, if you're on Stitcher, if you're on Spotify, if you're on Google Podcasts or YouTube, wherever you're listening to this, take a second, give us a like, subscribe, however you're going to get this right when we post it, right in your inbox, right in your feed. It only takes a couple seconds, and it helps us out immensely. You can also follow us on all forms of social media. We are at RBLR Sports. So, Musaab, anything for us before we get out of here, boss?
Nope. As always, it's a pleasure, Yurika and Chris, and to our listeners, we appreciate you as always.
All right, guys. For Chris, for Musaab and myself, we here at RBLR say Happy New Year, and we will see you next week.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.